We are going to go over basic hand stitches today, and these are some of the most commonly used hand stitches, especially when you download a PDF sewing pattern online. If you download one of my PDF sewing patterns, these are also the most commonly used stitches, so hopefully they will be of help to you when you are sewing. So we're going to start with a threaded needle. If it's single threaded, that means that it's only knotted on one side. If it's double threaded, then it is knotted on both sides, meaning that you tie the knot including both sides of the thread. Usually though, it's going to be single thread with a knot on just one side. So we're going to start by learning the most common stitch, which is called a blanket stitch. And if you have two pieces of felt together, two pieces of fabric, you're going to start your needle in between the two from the back. Catch the knot, and then you're going to take your needle and go back through the back piece through that hole. Now, before this loop is pulled tight, you're going to stick your needle right through the hole and pull all the way down. And you have your first stitch. Second stitch, you're going to hold your fabric, take your needle, go from back to front. We're going to do about 1/4 of an inch away. Pull. Once you have about an inch loop, you're going to take your needle and go through the loop and then pull tight. Now you're going to do it again. Back to front, pull, loop left, put your needle through it. Here we go. Back to front, pull, leave a loop, pass your needle through it, pull tight. Okay, now let's say you're doing a blanket stitch all around something you are sewing. For example, this is sewn with a blanket stitch all the way around. And so let's say you get back to your starting point, which would be right here. You're going to, instead of going to the next stitch, you're going to put it right in and do a blanket stitch over the last stitch. And then you can knot it by taking your needle and passing it through the top and pulling through the loop. And then you're going to push your needle through the fabric and out the other side to conceal the threads. Now let's do a whip stitch, which is another commonly used hand stitch that you will find and use when you are doing hand sewing. So we're going to go in the center of the two pieces of felt, and we're going to stitch from back to front to conceal the knot. Okay, now a whip stitch is you go back to front and pull all the way. Okay, and then you're going to take your thread and you're going to go back to front, pull, back to front, pull, back to front, pull, back to front, pull. So a whip stitch is very fast because you're just going back to front and doing the same thing repeatedly. Now we're going to do a back stitch. This is a common stitch used in hand sewing. a back stitch is named a back stitch because you were literally stitching backwards. So I'm going to run my thread through the center of the two pieces of felt to conceal the knot. And we're going to do just a straight line. We're now going to do another basic hand sewing stitch called the running stitch. And you're going to do that by, of course, threading your needle, putting your needle back and up through the front of the fabric. And then you're going to make a long stitch, which is the main component of a running stitch. It's loose. It is not tight at all. The gaps are literally running. So this was where it came out. I'm going to do it right here. And I'm going to hop or run, put it about a ½ inch away, and then back down ½ inch, up, ½ inch away, down, ½ inch. And there are two main reasons why running stitches are used. One of them is to gather, because if you see, you can literally gather and cinch up the fabric because it's so loose, the threading. So people will use that to gather for garments or toys. The other reason is if you don't want to use glue and you want to baste something in place, say you have a zipper and you're not going to sew it all the way through yet, but you want to make sure that it stays in place and you're not using glue, you're not using pins, you can sew it together with a quick running stitch, which is called basting.